Shall we proceed?
Excuse me, Saket.
Yes.
Yes.
When I did enable migration, it is showing me that the type initializer threw an exception.
Okay. Can you
So,
share your
like
screen?
in wait, actually, I'm on I'll join with you through that first.
Yeah.
Just on. Is it visible?
Yes, it is.
So this is what it is showing, these type initializer.
Okay,
I
so
think here this, I think it's talking about this.
yeah, that's correct. This app config is the one with the main application, or this is the one with the DAL project?
Main application.
Okay. Can you zoom the code a bit? This is the line which is actually got added on its own, right? So
Yes.
there should not be any problem with this actually. Solution Explorer you can hide.
This.
Okay. Provider name, system. I want to see your connection string configuration.
I copy and pasted it.
Yeah. No, the complete configuration I want to see. So just go to the extreme left. Connection string slash. Yeah. See, the error is in the spelling. Connection string, triple N are there. It should be double N.
Oh, got it. Okay, let me do it.
The other line also before clear.
Yeah, it worked.
Yeah. So usually the
Thank you.
type initializer exception comes when there is a typo mistake in the
Okay,
config.
got it.
Okay, so you have to check the configuration thoroughly and you should be able to resolve. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So just sharing my screen and now we are going to see how the update operation can be built into our application with entity framework. Okay. So just like create department, here we will create another method, that is update department. Few things I can actually copy from here. So just select create department method, copy. You can keep it collapsed. You have this expander and collapse buttons here, right? So you can get it collapsed. Paste it back. Is the name. Update department. Now here we won't be creating a new department, right? And before we actually update the department, we have to retrieve the department which needs to be updated from the database. So it all starts with a message displayed on console.write, enter department, I'll say number to be modified or edited, whatever you feel is right. I need to capture that department number. So here I say var department number equals to in.parse console.readline. This I will cut from here. Statement which goes here is using statement, where I create the DAL instance, and this line I'll delete because I don't need to add the department. In try block, the first thing I'll do is department equals to. This is where the filter thing will come in. Remember, you asked for?
Yes, I do.
Dot departments. This contains the entire set of department records. Here I can make use of the methods like where. I can make use of the method like single or default, single or default, search by primary key, where on the other hand search by any column. If you are looking to search by department name or location, then where will be used. Understood? I say D goes in the lambda expression represented by the single statement here. So I can directly say D dot department number equal department number. This is as good as select asterisk from departments where D dot where department number equals to the given department number. Understood? I say if I check whether there is a record or not. So I say if department equal null means the department is not found. From the user department interpolated string department with department number does not and I just want to return from here. Else I'll paste that code. Okay, somehow went ahead. So I just write it again, or I can copy it back from create department. So This is what I want to capture again. Copy and paste it here. Enter department name. Just a small change. I'll say enter new department name. Enter new location. And then these 3 lines of code goes after this. Any exception already being catched, message being displayed, and the color also is being reset. So that is it. So I find the department to be edited. If null, I can't do anything. So I return. If found, the actual department, I go ahead and update its name and location property. The primary key once set cannot be modified. So I don't modify the primary key. That is as per the business standards these days. Understood?
Yes, sir.
So just get your code finished. This is the complete update department from here to here. Done.
Yes, sir.
Now go down to main, comment out this create department method call and then make a call to update department. Start. It is this record which I want to edit where I made a mistake in location spelling, right? So department number is 3, hence I put 3 here. Asking for new department name. Department I don't want to change, so I retain it as it is. Location I want to change, so this time I put the correct spelling. It says 1 row is affected. Press any key to end the program. That's finished, and here I say execute to see this is modified. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Same way now I want to see the delete operation. This time I'll copy the update department method. There are a few things which will be the same. So I copy the whole method, collapse this method, paste it back, rename it from update department to delete department. You can guess few things here. The message will not be enter department number to be modified, rather it will be enter department number to be deleted. I need to search whether the department actually exists or not. So this line goes as it is. For searching, ultimately, I need to connect to the database. So this line goes as it is. Here, the search is happening. This will remain as it is. Even this if condition will remain as it is. If there is no department by the department number given, I have to tell the user that there is no department with this department number. Else part is going to have some changes. This is something which these 4 lines I'll remove and replace with just one line. Dal.departments.remove. To remove department, the one that we have searched. Rest everything remains as it is.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
So in the department, update department code, we have updated the both location and department name, right?
Yes.
What if I want to update only one column, like location or the
Yeah, I
department?
was expecting that question. The thing is, we are working with a console application, right? So within console application, we cannot provide such options. We can, but then the code is going to be more and more complicated, especially if we have 50 or 100 fields, right? A lot of
Yeah.
conditions, switch cases will be there. Now,
Okay.
this is not going to be a problem if you have a application with some GUI, like Windows based or web based application. There, you just go to the text box which you want to edit, modify and save. So it is automatically taken care of by your application there. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Here, there is one way like we can check if there is nothing entered, the previous value should be automatically considered. So we have to modify the code that way. But again, these kind of applications will practically never be created as console applications. Complex business applications now are all GUI based, mobile app or website or something, right?
Yes, sir.
Is it done?
Yes, sir.
So just like how we made the changes in main earlier, this time we comment update department and then call delete department here and start. So let's say this time I decide to delete the last record with department number 5. So here I say 5 is the number. It says 1 row is affected. I press any key to finish this. Go back to SSMS, execute, it's gone. Correct? Yes?
Sir, one question.
Yes.
What if I want to delete two rows together?
Sorry, come again.
What if I want to delete two rows, multiple rows, I mean?
Okay.
Then
See, basically there is no direct method available there to remove multiple rows that way. What you have to do is you, while searching here, instead of using single or default, you have to use where method. So here you will get a collection, right?
yes, sir.
Now let's see if we have a method. Yes, remove range now they have provided. Here you can pass that collection. So it will delete whatever number of rows that have been retrieved here.
Okay, sir, got it.
Right. So earlier we didn't have it. Probably one of the update has put this remove range. So that's good. Gives an easy solution, right? Just try out where method once whenever you get time.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now what I'm looking for is to display all the records which are there in the collection. Okay, so I just comment this out and create the new method. Not comment, actually I just collapse it and then I say static void get all departments. Directly I start with using company DB context. Dal equals to new company DB context. Go with try. In try, I say for each. Just type for each and press tab twice. It will automatically complete the syntax. Say where department in al.departments, console.writeLine, an interpolated string, department number, it should be, comma, department name this time, comma, department dot location. Exception got here, and displays ex.message. Here I can do some formatting, like I may want this to be displayed in yellow color, so I say console dot foreground color equals to console color dot yellow. Catch, I want console dot forecolor equals console color dot red, and then like the other methods, here I have finally block which says dot reset color. And then in main, comment delete department and call get all departments. This is pretty straightforward thing. Start it and you should see the list of whatever the available departments are. Yes? Getting it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
The most interesting thing over here is I am successfully able to do all CRUD operations here, but I'm not written a single query. There is not even select statement here in this program, right?
Yes.
Who is doing all that for me?
DB context.
DB context. And what is DB context? Who provides me that?
EF. Right.
Entity framework, right? So I hope you understood and you understand the power of entity framework as well. So there are many more things we can do, but for now this is enough, right? Because this is the core feature that any application would require to work with. Once you understand this, by going through different tutorials for advanced features, you can actually do a little bit of self-learning on this. Yes?
Yes, sir. Sir, so like as we are ending the CRUD, like I have
Yes.
small doubts in very small parts.
Sure.
Like,
Sure.
like first in company DB context, like we created a like a department collection name as
Mhm.
DB set. Okay, and then we inherited base CS, like when we called the default constructor. So like the CS is a string which we coded into the configuration,
Correct.
but I didn't understand like what is it actually inheriting, like what's the exact role of that
Let's
CS
go to
string.
that file first of all. The thing is, in order to work on the database, the DB context will require to connect to some database using some provider. This you understand, right?
Yeah.
Now, which database type, which provider, which server I need to connect to, what are the login credentials I need to use. Again, what is the database name? How do I get that? Somewhere I need to tell this manually to the system, right?
Yeah.
Because these are the details not in control of system. These are the details in control of me as a developer. Correct?
Yeah.
I have to tell it. I have to configure it somewhere. Correct?
Yes.
I can hard code that over here. But do you think hard coding is going to help?
No.
It will make the things work, but the issue here is if you hard code, tomorrow you want the same product to be provided to some other client where they are having a different database on different provider. I mean, earlier one was SQL Server, the new client is using Oracle. Entirely different system altogether. So the hard coded thing, will it work?
No.
Even if it is SQL Server, they may have a different server name or different IP address for the server. Correct? So will it work?
Yeah. No.
Don't you think this kind of configuration should be externalized? Means saved into some external file, which has nothing to do with the program directly.
Okay.
Program should depend on it. The file should not depend on the program. Understood?
Yeah. Okay.
Now can you understand the role of the config file here?
It actually helps in externalizing the thread
Absolutely.
connecting to the
Absolutely.
local server.
So it just goes and reads this connection string, but there has to be identifier. Which connection string? I may have 100 connection strings, right? Complex applications may be connecting to 100 different databases, correct?
Yeah.
So which connection string? That's where the name plays the role.
Right.
You can understand the provider name also. Like
Yeah.
if I'm using this connection string, for which type of database I'm using it. So I need to give this, right?
Yeah.
Now, this name, don't you think the program should be aware of somewhere that this is where the configuration is?
Being
So
connected.
here I wanted that connection information. I inform this DB context class that your configuration exists in config file by this thing. Read it from there.
Okay.
Instead, using hard-coded values, I said read it from the config file by this name.
Okay. So every
And
time.
one more thing, this is configured, pre-configured to read only the connection strings section, because here it expects a connection string. Understand?
Okay. Okay.
No other
Got it.
section it will read. So if any other section is there where there is some configuration which uses the same name, it won't read that.
Okay.
Understood?
So in the program section, in suppose
Yes.
the create department method,
Yes.
every time you call using company context the object dal dal
Yes.
whatever
Yes.
of it connects to the SQL server and
Correct.
sends all the data which we are putting in the department table
Yes.
in this program to that
Yes.
like in SQL server like over
Correct.
there.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Cool. That
Now,
was my
why
doubt.
every time
Yeah.
connection is required? Because see, every time the operator may not be doing all operations,
Okay.
right? So if it is role-based thing, that okay, the new records are being entered by one operator, the changes are being handled by another operator with some verification process in place. Delete operation, only admin is having the right, or suppose it's a bank application, banking application, I mean. So only the bank manager has got the rights to delete something, right? So in that case, why should I create a global object which is going to be kept alive for the entire session?
Okay.
When I need, I'll open connection. When I'm done, I'll close connection so others can use it, right? I'll go the disconnected way now.
Okay.
Yeah, global object will help if you have a real-time application to be built. So in that case,
yeah.
instead of declaring it here, I'll declare at the class level.
Okay.
And I'll keep the connection open until and unless the object of this class itself is not deleted, the connection will remain open. So that will give me real-time connected experience. Understood?
Yeah. So in the next line, when you wrote dl.deps.add department, when we are adding the department name to the departments table, why are we again connecting it to DAL, like DL dot? Why are we mentioning that again?
Can you tell me the line number you are mentioning?
23.
Okay. So see, here we have created an object that is
Yeah.
in the application.
Yeah.
This is an independent object, right?
Yes.
Like when you apply for passport, don't you fill the form?
Yeah.
Now, don't you think that form needs to be submitted to the passport department's collection?
Yes.
This submission is happening here.
To both the department table and DL server at the same time.
No. Here you are adding it only to the local cached collection, which is in memory of the application. And when you say you want to add it to the database, that is actually done by this.
Okay.
Because as we discussed, the save changes detects what all changes have been done to the collection. And accordingly, it generates the statements.
Okay.
So in a single shot, I might have added 3 departments, modified 1, deleted 1. When I say save changes, all 5 operations will be carried out on the database server as a batch. Understand?
Yeah.
It all depends on how I have written my code.
Okay.
Right now it's doing it one by one, but there could be a possibility where I might want save changes to be coded for a button called as save. Until and unless I don't click on save, all changes are just local changes, right?
Yeah. Okay. And one last doubt. In the update department class method,
Yes.
in your line number, little bit.
Wait, let me go there. Update department here.
Yeah, line number 51.
Okay.
Like why did you like use a delegate here and connected the department number over
Say,
in the bracket?
using delegate is just one of the option I have. Say, first of all, I need to understand what I'm doing there. How I'm doing is a different thing, right? Now, you got the passport. You find there is some spelling mistake in your name or the address.
Yeah.
So what you will do?
Refill.
You will
Resubmit.
apply for the modification, right?
Yeah.
And a fresh passport will come up, correct?
Yeah.
With the corrections made. For that, what is the most important thing that you have to fill in that updation form?
The new name, correct name.
No, that also is not important. The first most important thing is your passport ID number.
Okay.
If you don't give the number, which passport will update the name or address?
Right.
Most important is the passport number, because the new passport will not be regenerated from scratch with a new number. It will be the same passport number, so that the verification doesn't happen again, right?
Okay.
It is just the corrections that will be made. Understood?
Okay. So what is the single or default?
So coming to that. Now, here when I give you the passport number, I mean, when I give it to the passport department, what they'll do? in their records, they will first put this passport number and search for the record. Yes or no?
Yeah.
Even if it is a manual thing, for that passport number, there must be a file with that number. Yes or no?
Yeah.
That has to be searched or not.
Yes.
And based on that found document, there are two possibilities. There is no passport that has been generated by that number,
Hmm.
or there is a passport generated with that number, so get that record and then make the changes. Understand?
Okay. Okay.
Now,
Got.
when I'm searching by ID,
Hmm.
I mean the unique value,
Hmm.
what are the two possibilities? There will be one record or there will be no record. That's it.
Acha.
There will be not more than one record at any point in time. Yes,
Yeah.
that's what single or default is doing. Get the single record if found. If not, return default value which is null. And based on that, our further code is working. If it is null, inform user there is no record like this. Else, if it is not null, that means record exists. Go and modify it.
Okay. Got it.
And absolutely same thing we are doing in delete also.
Yeah.
Sir, one
Right?
thing,
Yes.
there was another option instead of single or default. There was also an option called single.
Yes.
What's the
So
difference
in
between-
that case, what happens is it is quite similar to this only. If found, it returns the record here. If not found, it returns an exception, which can crash your application if try catch is not used. So if you are using try catch, there is no problem. If you are not using try catch, single is dangerous. It's not safe. Single or default, on the other hand, is safe. Understand?
Yes, sir.
So technically, single or default also behind scenes uses single only. It gives the call to single, and it has got its own check. If there is an exception, return the default value that is null. Understood? It's a wrapper created on single. Instead of we writing the code to catch the exception and handle it and return null, they have already provided the wrapper for it, which is already taking care of the same. Understood?
Yes, sir.
So this means that we don't have to write the if statement and the else statement as we have written now, because single or default already.
I still need that because I need to inform the user as well. Na? Point
Okay.
is, here I'm not handling the exception way. I'm just checking the actual, I would say, the fact. Got my point? Whether record is there or not there. I'm checking the fact. I'm not waiting for the exception. Understood?
Yes, sir.
So that's a good practice, no?
Yes, sir.
So I hope this is understood now.
Yes, it is.
Yes, sir. It is.
Great. So shall we proceed to the next thing? Where we are going to talk about MVC. So the similar thing we will be creating over there as the sample application, which will give you better feel like exactly how the applications are built. Some of the queries were there like even if I'm looking to update one field, I'm supposed to update all the fields over here and all. You will see the solution for that as well. Okay, but before we go ahead with that, have you studied or researched a bit on what MVC actually is? It stands for model view
Control.
controller. Technically, what this model view controller is, it is an application development architectural pattern. I am sure sometime you must have gone through the two-tier architecture, three-tier architecture, or that way I can say n-tier architecture. You must be aware of this at least conceptually. Yes or no? Yes or no?
No, sir.
Anybody aware of this? What is the meaning of tier, by the way? General meaning, if you can tell me.
Like category.
Category, or can I say it's something like layer,
Levels, sir.
levels? Okay. Now, if you look at the way how this application is created, this entities is just the data structure. So I can say this is a data structure layer. DAL is data handling core, communicating with database. So that is another layer. And this is my presentation layer. Based on this, can I say my application is actually using a tiered architecture? This is actually two-tier architecture. Entities doesn't go in any specific tier. It is just an entities layer. This is used across all the other tiers. That's why this is common. Doesn't have a separate space. DAL and main application, these are the two main tiers of your application. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What is the advantage of writing the program this way? I could have written all the stuff within one main application also, like the initial few programs that we wrote. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
What is the advantage that you have noticed here? What benefit we are getting?
It is modularized, so debugging becomes
Yes.
easier.
Access.
Modularized. So,
Debugging and access becomes easier.
okay. Anything else? Apart from this, it's more reusable, right? It's more component oriented. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
See, the way how the electronic devices used to be built uh, some 50 years back. It used to be complete one assembly where if one component goes bad, it was not possible to modify it or repair it or replace it. These days, if you see the electronic components, every single component comes as a separate unit. You have ICs, you have transistors, you have resistors. I'm not sure how many of these names you know actually. People from electronic background probably understand this. We have capacitors, right? We have inductors. And there are many such things. If one of the component goes bad, suppose one of the capacitor got blasted, what you can do? You can desolder it from the circuit, and same value capacitor can be, the fresh capacitor can be soldered in that place, and your device will start working. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
What is the advantage you're getting? It's more modularized. So plug and play is possible there. That capacitor may not be being manufactured at all. Maybe the old model it is. But you can look for some other device. It may not be the same type of device. It may be some other device, but is using that very same capacitor. You can pull it out from there and you can install it in the current device, right? So it is plug and play. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Makes it very, very flexible. See, many times we write code which needs to be used across different applications, right? I write the code which will be used in a Windows application. I'm having a Linux application. I'm having a Mac application also, which need to use the same code. Then I have a mobile application, a web application as well, which also needs to use the same business logic. Should I be rewriting that logic every time? Do you think it will be a good idea?
No, it won't.
The ideal thing will be,
Write it once and use it and change it wherever it is needed, however it is needed.
write it once and make it reusable, right? That's what you mean?
Yes, sir.
And how do we create such reusable code in .NET? We create class library projects, right? Class library results in an assembly with an extension as .dll. Correct? Now this DLL can be added as a reference in any application that you are writing. Yes or no? So that is okay. The reusability is one thing. But with these tiered architecture, if you look at the code that we have created, one thing you can notice, the way how the code is written. Each layer is taking care of one specific role. DAL is taking care of only the database operations. Entities is only about the data structures. The presentation is all about the user interaction. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
What that actually brings in? It allows us to go for separation of concerns. Right? So that we can have an expert working on that particular component. Person who is good in database programming can be asked to handle the DAL. Person who is good in business logic development can be asked to work on the business layer of the application. The person who is good in designing probably can be asked to work on the presentation of the application. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Again, person with that specific scale working on that module will get me better results. Yes or no? More optimized results. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
So do we have advantage with this or not? Another advantage we get over here as a side effect is the components become more testable independently. Means I write one component, I test it on my own without worrying about the user of this component has finished his work or not, and the component on which my component depends is completed or not. It will be completely independent component which I can test entirely independently. Yes or no? Take an example of a desktop machine. You have monitor. It has a dependency on a computer. But even if the computer is not built yet, can we not test? I mean, can we not build and test the monitor? We can. Talk about mouse, talk about keyboard. Everything can be built and tested independently. Yes or no? If you are using speakers, speakers can be tested independently. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
And again, person with good skills in electronics and the display devices will be working on building the monitor. Person with good skills in speakers and audio systems will be working with the audio system, the speakers, and so on. Right?
Yes, sir.
Within the CPU also, I mean that tower also, you see there is a motherboard, there is a CPU, the processor, there is a CPU fan, the SMPS, power supply, the hard disk, RAM, additional graphic card if you are making use of, additional optical disk drive if you are making use of, right? All these components are contributed by different manufacturers. Yes or no? They are also built independently, tested independently,
Yes, sir.
right? Now that's where the separation of concern is also coming. Reusability also is coming and testability also is coming. Yes or no? So at the end, you get better quality product. Am I right? One more thing that is applicable to a desktop machine is at the end user level also it is quite flexible, right? I want a bigger screen, maybe 32-inch one. I can get that. Not like laptop where there is a specific model with a specific screen size only. Yes or no? I can install a touchscreen monitor also, right? Laptop, if it comes with touchscreen enabled feature, great. If it doesn't, I can't do anything. I have to use it the way it is. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Right. So basically this N-tier architecture brought in this concept. Reusability, separation of concerns, independent testability of the components. It was good. Quality of code was improvising. Teams were able to work independently on different components. Parallel development was possible. When some team member is working on the database access code, the other team member can work on the business logic. Another couple of people might be working on the design, the presentation at the same time. Anyone need not wait for anyone else. Does that make sense or not? So
Yes,
if that
sir.
is so good, why MVC brought in? So MVC is not a new thing. Actually, it is an extension to N-tier only. Practically, it is an extension to 3-tier. 3-tier architecture, how it comes up with. Let's say there is a database. To access the database, there is a component which is written specifically with the role to access the database for read and write operations, basically CRUD operations. And that is the component we call as DAL. Understood? For all business decision making and calculations processing, we have another component which we call as business layer. For any data requirements, it communicates with your DAL. Read operations, write operations at the database level, everything is fulfilled by DAL. So for any such requirement, BL will never talk to database directly. It will always talk to DAL, and DAL knows what to do for this request. Understand? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Then you have the presentation tier or presentation layer, which will talk about all user interactions. For any logical stuff, it will always talk to business logic. Again, whether it is read or write operation, it will talk to business layer. Business layer will fulfill the things. Presentation layer will only be about accepting input, giving output, providing the means to the user to interact with the system, and that's it. Understood? So each component has got a specific role to play. Your code also becomes more compact, more maintainable with this. If there is a problem with UI, I just need to work with this component. If there is a problem with business logic, I just need to work with this component. If there is a problem with the data availability, I just need to fix this component. I need not work with the other components. I need not retest them. Once this is giving me correct output, I know that these components are already tested, so they will perform the way they are supposed to. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes,
So
sir.
why another enhancement? Problem is when it comes to the presentation layer also has got two parts. One is the UI logic, and one is something that runs in the backend. Maybe you can say controller logic or just control logic, which takes input from UI and decides what to be done next, which business layer it should be forwarded to. Usually this is, if you look at the .NET and Java applications, this is written in event handlers. Like button click, text box text change, right? Drop down selection changed, and so on. So here, this control logic with this architecture used to be tightly coupled with UI logic. Yeah, one thing I forgot to mention here. With all this, you get loosely coupled architecture or loosely coupled components. What that means, let's first talk about that. You have a laptop, right? If your screen develops a snag, it's not showing any picture. What is the solution you have immediately? You don't have an additional monitor, or let's say your laptop model doesn't have the connector to connect external monitor or anything. What will you do? Can you replace your screen with any screen? No. You need specific make, specific model screen only, which will fit your laptop. Am I right?
Yes.
Otherwise, it may not match. Its specifications may not match. Its dimensions may not match with the laptop, correct? Correct?
Yes.
Is it the same case with desktop? No. One monitor goes bad, fine. Just disconnect its power source and the display cable. I mean the monitor side end only I disconnect. I bring in another monitor which may be of any make, any model, any specification, any dimension. I just connect the display cable and power cable to it and it just starts working. Yes or no? Yes or no?
Yes.
Same goes with keyboard and mouse with desktop. Is it the same case with laptop? If your touchpad, mousepad doesn't work, if your keyboard integrated with the laptop doesn't work, you have to get it replaced with the same make and same model. Am I right? Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Desktop is more flexible, right? So that's where the loose coupling is important. I can replace one component with the other component at any point in time. Say my new client says I want Oracle to be used instead of SQL Server. So DAL, which was written with SQL Server, I'll pull that component out and I'll push in another component whose interfaces are same, but internal system is built based on Oracle. My business layer and presentation layer need not be changed at all in that case. As far as the interfaces of the new component are same, they are okay. Correct? Think of this component as a desktop computer and this component as a display, the monitor. Anytime if something needs to be changed, I can change. Business layer needs to be changed, I just remove this component, bring in another one and connect to presentation layer. Just the interfaces needs to be same. Like in a physical monitor, the display cable needs to be matching. If you had a VGA monitor, you have to have a VGA monitor only. Or at least the monitor which has got VGA port. It may be HDMI based monitor, but it must have VGA port also. You can connect. Or else you will get a converter, HDMI to VGA. It could be vice versa also, VGA to HDMI, right? I hope you understand. And that's where we had the problems here with this architecture. Presentation layer was based on a tight coupling between the UI logic and the control logic. Issue with this is simple. You have a Windows application. You have a button. Button click is saving the data. But that button is a Windows button, right? Though on a web application also have a button, but that button is HTML button, not Windows button. It will have its own eventing system. It will have its own architecture. Similarly, tomorrow if I get a mobile application built, on mobile also there is a button, but that's a mobile button. Again, on mobile I have options like the application may be a Windows Phone application, Android application, iOS application, or some kiosk application, or maybe a tab. Again, on tab also there are different operating systems, right? How will it work? don't you think I would be forced to create the UI along with the control logic separately for each platform? Tell me quickly, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
I hope everyone agrees.
Yes, sir.
Don't you think that will be wastage of efforts and time? Because the same kind of logic I'll be writing everywhere. If I have written once, why should I write it again and again? That's my point. That's where people were looking to find some solution. And that gave us something called as MVC. What MVC does? It's represented like this primarily. But this MVC actually is just a broken down version of PL only. MVC put together is representing PL, presentation layer. So the architecture here is just an extended version of 3-tier architecture. Let me draw it. I have the database to which DAL is connected and providing all database operations. I still have DAL. Then I have the business layer, which is applying all business rules, doing all calculations, decision making, etc. For data requirements, it's talking to DAL. And then instead of PL directly connecting, it is the controller logic which has been pulled out of the presentation and made a separate component which talks to business layer. Controller is the entity which should talk to user always. And based on user's request, what is happening, whatever is being requested by the user, the controller decides which business logic needs to be communicated. Accordingly, the DAL data comes back, and this data basically from DAL to business layer to controller gets transferred in the form of something called as entities, or what we also call as DTOs, data transfer objects. And then finally, this is the data, the final data, which will be put into the model by the controller. Controller will decide which view to be loaded, and the chosen model will be passed to it. And then the view will be returned back to the user. That's the whole functioning of MVC. Understood?
So could you please summarize it again?
I believe till here there should be no problem. Yes?
Yes, sir. There are no problem.
We discussed this with 3-tier architecture as well, correct?
Yes, sir.
Any data that needs to be transferred across the layers would require some data structure or not?
Yes, sir.
That is what the role played by entities, or what we also call as DTOs. Just another name. These days, popularly entities is used. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, this model is nothing but entities only. Just that the controller may remodel the entities into the way how it wants. It may require the data from 2 entities combined as one, or data split from 1 entity to 2 different models. So that's what the controller will do after receiving entity, and that new representation is what we will call as model. Understood?
Yeah.
Because it is the controller which knows better about the application, right? What is the user's requirement? Controller only knows, because user is requesting controller that I want this or I want that, correct?
Yes.
So it is the entity which should create the final model. and that final model is then sent to the view. What is view? The actual UI. View is nothing but the actual UI. What is visible to the user? Understood?
Yes, I got it.
Now, what we have achieved, nothing big. It is still the same as 3-tier architecture only. Just that the presentation, the UI and the control logic are separate. They are two different components. The UI is view and the control logic is represented by controller. It's no more event handler. It's a separate controller component, independent component. Once again, loose coupling comes in. So that tomorrow if my view, which is right now a Windows application, needs to be changed or replaced with a web application, I just rebuild that view component in HTML. Only the design I need to rework. The controller logic will remain the same. Instead of the Windows view being used, now the HTML view will be used. Controller will remain the same. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
The web API concept in .NET is built on the same background. When you say MVC, there is a view which is web-based. When it comes to web API, there is no view defined. You end up with model and controller only. There is no view for web API. View is something which can evolve on its own in whatever technology you want. So the view can be a Java application also. The view can be a COBOL application also. The view can be any application. So the web API takes this overall concept one step further to make it more reusable and more adaptable, more loosely coupled. Understood?
Yes, sir.
I hope everyone understood the architecture. Yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so time for lunch break. Once we come back, we will see the working application based on this concept, where we will be again creating a CRUD application. The department table only will be using. But one thing I want you to do, please go to SSMS, right click on company DB or whatever name you have used. After right clicking, go to the delete option and delete the database. When this dialog comes up, don't forget to select close existing connections. Once it is selected, click OK. Your database will be deleted. Why we are deleting it? Because the new application will rebuild for itself. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's have a break for lunch. We'll resume at 2:20 because we are taking the break little late today. So 2:20, once we come back, we will see the MVC application that talks to the SQL Server backend. Okay?
Okay.